What's up, everybody? This is Chris Nichols, and you're listening to an episode of the Nichols and Dimes show featuring David Belogolovsky. Enjoy. David, man, cool. What's going on?
Not much, bro. It's crazy.
Dude,
I haven't seen you in 10 years, probably.
Yeah, it's been a long time, dude.
I was 22, 23.
Yeah, I think I caught you briefly at one point up here in Sunnyvale, but it's been a long time since we actually hung out.
Yeah.
Dude, I think that it was that one time in Vegas, huh? Back when you were working out there?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, I just moved there, and, like, I was fresh out of Santa Clara, right? So, like, all my friends that found out I moved there, they, like, want to visit me. So I'm, like, balancing all that, like, my new job and stuff. Yeah, it was a good time. I got to see a lot of different people while I was out there.
Hell yeah, man.
From Santa Clara.
Yeah, well, it's so good to reconnect with you. But let me just give everybody a quick intro on you. Yeah. And then we'll get into your story, what you're up to today with Owl Vision and everything else. But, guys, I'm here today with David Belogolovsky, who is CEO of Owl Vision, LLC, which is a premier event production company, which includes audio, video, lighting, and special effect design. Owl Vision's clientele resemble nightclubs, concerts, luxe weddings, and corporate gatherings. He's also owner of Mega Confetti, which is an Owl Vision company specializing in confetti and streamer services, and one of the only in the Bay Area. David's prior background includes experience as a DJ and controlling lighting and special effects at top Las Vegas nightclubs, alongside some of the world's most famous DJs. David attended Santa Clara University and is currently based in the Bay Area. So, man, dude, it's just so amazing to see how much you've built this thing out. You know, I gotta start with this. You were like one of the first people that came to mind when I was conceptualizing the idea of doing this podcast, as somebody who's a friend of mine, who's in my network, that would be an amazing guest on this show. Mm-hmm. Because you really do embody the story that I'm looking for. Somebody who's built a real legit business, and it's a cool business. It's something different, unique. You know, it's not just some other person starting some app. You know,
Thank you, bro. I'm honestly honored. Like, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to talk to you about it. Like,
man, dude,
I haven't really talked about it, to be honest. Like, I've just been doing it. It's been a wild ride. So yeah.
I guess, you know, a good place to start. I want to give people background on who you are. Mm-hmm. Like, what made you entrepreneurial growing up? Because I know you've always had that spirit in you.
Sure, yeah.
Right? And, you know, you've got a wild story after college and what got you to where you are today. But just for context for everybody, we're actually at the Owl Vision office and warehouse right now in Santa Clara, California, just down the road from where David and I both went to college.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. He gave me a tour. I mean, it is built out with all this cool stuff in there, all this cool shit. And we'll talk about what some of that stuff is. But why don't you just tell us about your life growing up? Where does your family come from? Like, why are you so entrepreneurial today based off your background?
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, my parents are from Russia, from Moscow. They immigrated here, and I was born shortly after, like 2 months after. So, yeah, growing up, you know, my dad was a programmer, engineer mindset. And I think that I found myself like around 13 years old being like a host. Like I was like, okay, everyone, let's go to AMC 14 tonight and do like a 15-person text message, right? And like be the guy to like orchestrate stuff. Like I wanted to host. I wanted to be like the main contact for that and make sure everybody had a good time, right? I think and even like in high school, there was certain times where I was able to like create fundraisers and like create like this project Run for Riley, which was like a benefit for one of my old football coach trainers, whose daughter, you know, had like a brain surgery, and we were raising money for that. So like it was always about like kind of being, I don't know if it's being in the spotlight as much as just organizing people. That was like my passion, right? I think like when I entered Santa Clara University, I think it really took off because I found this like huge interest in DJing and in general, kind of like, again, organizing, hosting that party, right? It started with house parties. It started with small gatherings. Then it became, you know, sorority events, fraternity events. Some of them are offsite. Now we're like going to different areas, different places, kind kind of the beginning of my experience with like working with the venues, right?
Yeah.
And at that time I was mostly like a mobile DJ, small business. I didn't even consider it a business, man. Like I was just having fun, bringing some speakers, trying to cater to what the new popular music was. And at the time, like EDM took off, like 2013. It was like, even like when we first started college, like 2009 to 2013, that is like the core of like what EDM and like Skrillex and all these guys were coming out at that time.
I remember that
crazy.
time, dude.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like, it starts from just like wanting to host people, I think. And, because I went to Santa Clara as a business major, and like, we'll kind of get into that, but yeah, I didn't finish as a business major and now I'm a business owner. So it's kind of crazy. Dude, I think it came more from a passion of like wanting to work with people and almost like, have people have a good time or like be part of that formula. Right. Which I kind of like got addicted to. And that's why, you know, going on into Vegas, you know, it really came into play because that was on a bigger scale. Yeah, no, that's actually key. What you said earlier about the early passion you had for organizing events and gathering people together, because that literally is everything you're doing today. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything you've always been doing, whether it was the DJ stuff or the early career you had in lighting, which we're going to cover all this stuff right in a second here. But, you know, that actually is a really good answer to that question. Like, what made you so entrepreneurial? Because it's so direct to actually your business today, right? Was there anything else though, like influences from your family, your parents being, you know, immigrants, right?
Yeah, for sure. So like, I look at it this way, like what they went through to get here, to learn a new language, to learn a new culture. Like, I can't experience that, right? Like, that's something that's so big to me that it's like, every generation has like their own, you know, struggle or path or what may say, but I think like the push of what they did for me ever since I was born, it was like in the back of your head, right? And like to be able to perform in a way or to be able to make them proud, right? And like that is definitely a massive like weight but push to being successful, to being, and like it could be anything. It could be like an occupation, it could be being a lawyer, being a doctor, right? There's a lot of people that go these routes that are like very, you know, like high specified skills that are paid well and all that stuff, right? I took a little bit of a different route, but I needed to keep in mind that the struggle that was put for me to be here and to make sure that I can maintain and be successful.
I see. Yeah, no, that's a good answer. So at you grew up here in the Bay Area, and then you went to Santa Clara. You entered as a business major. When did you switch majors, and what did you switch to, and why?
Okay, so basically, in 2013, it was pretty much the end of my senior year, and I still had to take a little bit of classes after that. So like do like another half year. Yeah. And right at that point, I had been DJing at Santa Clara. I also started dabbling with some lighting, and I was offered an internship for 5 days in Las Vegas.
5 days?
Yeah, just 5 days. 5-day internship in Las Vegas that summer after my senior year. On the second day, I got hired. They basically offered me a job, not an internship. And we're like, here's a job, here's a salary, you need to move here and do all this stuff, right? So I went to my parents and was like, yeah, okay, I'm moving to Las Vegas. Wow. It did not go well at all. Because there's like, I didn't finish school. They're like, what are you talking about? All this stuff, right? And like Santa Clara gives you like a 5-year period to complete all of your credits. Otherwise, like it gets restarted. And there's like, there was a timeline placed on that, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I basically went to Las Vegas. I took the internship. Yeah. And that's, you know, a big part of why I'm here today and where I learned a lot of this stuff. Right. And then, yeah, basically when I came back from Las Vegas, then I already had in my head the vision, right? Like what I want to start, I need to start this company. And it was like past me getting a business degree to achieve that. I actually just needed the quickest route out of the school. Yeah. So because I had interest in graphic design my whole life, and like I took a bunch of graphic design classes as like some like elective courses, right? I had actually fulfilled so much of the studio art requirement because of the things I was actually interested in learning, that it was faster for me to get a studio art major with emphasis in computer graphics to get out of school so I can proceed with Owlvision. I see. Okay. Because I essentially announced Owlvision like the month I quit Las Vegas.
Got it. Okay, so let's go back to Las Vegas though, because you just kind of casually said in 5-day internship that made you basically leave school to go do it. Yeah. It must have been a big deal for you, right? Totally. So like, could you explain what that job was?
Totally. So it all kind of started because I was doing a Dog Life show here in Oakland or Richmond, I think. And like, I was helping another company set up lasers. Like, just a stagehand, basically.
Got it.
Started hanging out with the VJ. He was kind of like really tired. He like got in, like probably slept 1 hour and like basically was like, saw my interest and was like, let me just show you how to do this real quick. You can do the openers, right? I was stoked on that. That was my first opportunity to like actually be involved in a show with a big artist like that.
So Dada Life directly.
Yeah, Dada Life directly.
Swedish guys. Okay.
Exactly. Wow. And so they offered me a spot on the bus with the tour, but for free, so no pay. And so what I'd done, you probably remember when I threw Don't Bring Sand to the Beach and I did TJR. Yeah. So at the time, the guy I got TJR from, he was the social media director at XS.
Okay.
And so I reached out to him, and that's how I got TJR. He helped me book that, right?
Yeah.
So when I wanted to run this Dada Life thing by him. He's like experienced. He has a lot of like input on these artists and all this stuff. And he was like, why don't you just like come to Vegas for 5 days and let me see if I can hook you up with our lighting tech in XS. Okay. And that's how I got connected. And so I came out there. I met the XS lighting guy, right? His name was Dennis. He's an amazing guy. He kind of just showed me a little bit, right? And realized within that night, like it was I remember it was Lil Jon that night. And like he let me run the show. Wow. Like halfway in. And he's like, you have good timing. Like, you know what you're doing.
And
like,
sorry, this was in that first 5 day period?
This is on the first day. Right
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So that's me basically like, you know, the guy from XS connects me. I flew in on the first day. I meet Dennis. On that first night, I do Lil Jon. On the second day, he brings me, he says like, oh, we're going to have a barbecue at my brother's house. His brother is the owner of Sexy Lights. So I went over there, thought it was just a barbecue. Yeah. Ended up being like a flash interview, and I got hired there on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's why this wasn't just a random 5 day internship. This was like your dream come true.
Yeah, 100%. So it was basically, I was trying to weigh my options, and I didn't even know I didn't even know that I had this option to go to Las Vegas and do that for 5 days. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely jump started and catapulted my career because I kind of consider Las Vegas like the Harvard of modern production, because you can't learn, like you can go to school and go to theater classes and learn, you know, about Shakespeare and like traditional lighting design in theater. That's like what is in school. There is no way to really learn like, okay, like how do we put on the show for Eric Pritz? How do we change the game, right? Like people are literally developing this on their own. And so Las Vegas at the time, because EDM was rising, all those clubs were like top notch. They were all investing, new lighting rigs, video rigs, audio rigs, special effects, all competing against each other. And I was lucky enough to work at this company that ran 10 of them. So I was able to go Marquee one night, XS another night, right? And bounce around. And like, there's a lot of key players involved in that. Like, Evan Bloom, technical director of Tau Group. Like, I mean, there's so many people that I learned from during that process that to me are like Harvard teachers. Yeah. You know, they're like people that like you don't just meet these people. Yeah. Like, and I'm super honored and blessed to have that opportunity.
Oh man. And you know, I wanted you to double click on this part of your career background because I actually got to experience it firsthand, right? I remember I came out, I happened to spend a couple of days with you and stayed with you in Vegas when you were doing that job, and I literally followed you around, like, what do you call it? Like, just like watched your job, what you do. And I met some of your people you worked with and was like, holy shit, this is a hell of a life. And I see why he left Santa Clara to go do this. Like, this is an unbelievable thing, and it could turn into really, really big things, which obviously here we are today. Yeah. But you were shoulder to shoulder with the biggest DJs in the world and all the top production people in every single way. Yeah. So how long did you do that for in Las Vegas?
So I was there for a year and 2 months, which is like pretty short in most people's career, right? But to like take into account how many hours you work and how crazy it is in general, it was like just enough. And yeah, like the opportunity, basically, like cost of living in Las Vegas is lower. And also I would argue the pay is lower, right? And so for the ceiling to reach there, I feel like was throttling for me. Yeah. But I also I had to finish school, right? So I still had that in the back of my head. And like, even if this is just a year and 2 months, I feel like I picked up what I needed to then go back, finish my process, because like, you know, school is really important to my family. That's definitely couldn't just be like passed.
I see. Okay.
So there still had that was part of the reason why I like, you know, and like kind of the time limit with Santa Clara and the whole thing with the 5 years, like I needed to make sure that I had a plan, like come back and finish this. Make sure it's good.
For sure. Okay. And so you knew you needed to come back regardless to finish school. Did you have anything else in mind of what you would do next to continue your career at that point?
Yeah, totally. So like when I knew like I was gonna leave Las Vegas and I came back, I had about a month left on my lease. So I spent that month essentially launching Owlvision, and that's when I released like that July of 2014. That's when I released like Owlvision LLC coming winter 2014.
Wow.
That's like when I released that banner on my Facebook, right? And so that whole time, basically, I was working on, okay, what am I releasing in the winter, right? Like, obviously, I want to carry on doing nightclub lighting because that's what I just like spent a lot of time doing.
Yeah.
And the thing I noticed being in college and like all the clubs and stuff we went to in general, none of them cared about production. Like San Francisco was like last place to care about that stuff because they care about the music, they care about the vibe. They almost don't care about the technology, which is ironic because of where we are. Yeah. But my whole like goal was to bring Las Vegas production level here.
Wow.
And so I was looking for clients that like have a decent sized space because capacity of the club almost directly correlates what they can afford, right? And what they can do. And so I kind of like, you know, tried to find some clubs that I knew I could revamp and showing them what I could do. And I knew it was of high value, and it was about finding the people that found it high value and not a commodity because, you know, some clubs, it's a commodity. Lighting is a commodity. They don't care. Like they just, you know, want it to look red, right? Or whatever. But like if the people actually want it running to the beat, right? Like there's a human being doing that. Like, it's basically like, you know, you're almost anticipating. It's the game of anticipation and understanding music, right? Yeah. So I would tell you, like right now, all my employees were DJs. Yeah. Or some sort of instrument because the timing, the tempo, all that stuff's super important.
Yeah. That's such a key point you just made. All of you and your employees are DJs because
pretty much,
you're literally working on a keyboard basically, right? And controlling lights in line with the music. Yeah. And so you're working along the drops.
Yeah, you understand like the timing on how those things are happening, including like false drops, right? Fake drops. Yeah. Right? Being, such a good point. Blasting a bunch of confetti on the wrong time, right, is pretty much the worst thing you can do in these situations. So, it comes with a lot of experience, and a lot of it comes from a musical background for sure.
Yeah. Have you ever done Deadmau5?
No, we did confetti for him at the Bill Graham on New Year's Eve. Okay. Right before COVID. I do remember that. But like Deadmau5, he has his own team all in the house. All of his programmers, everything. The cube is all designed by him, toured by him. Yeah. They have to reinforce the stage and stuff because it's so heavy. So some venues can't even have him. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's funny. I guess I just asked because I feel like he's notorious for false drops.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And his whole show's time coded. So like he can create a funny moment out of that as well.
I see. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, man. So that was the original idea you had of Owlvision, because obviously it's grown to be so much more today.
Totally. Yeah.
But it was originally, hey, let's take Las Vegas level production with the lighting design that is kind of overlooked at, you know, the nightclubs in the Bay Area, let's just say, and bring that level here, right? You found that opportunity. Yeah. Which is amazing, you know, amazing thing you identified, because it really was a gap. Yeah. It really was a gap at that time.
Yeah, it's from experiencing it, right? Yeah. Like in college, like you go to Ruby Sky, you're just like, what's going on?
Right. In San Francisco, yeah.
You got Tiesto on the stage.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
You know, when his next stop is in Club XS with like, you know, phenomenal production. So for a city like San Francisco, it was kind of my passion to like try to get people excited about it.
Yeah. You know. Okay, so you finished your credits when you were back as you were working on launching Owlvision, right? And so tell us about the launch of Owlvision. What did you have pulled together at that point?
Sure. So it's crazy. I went back to school and I didn't have any clients, right? I basically went on Yelp and like Facebook and like found every nightclub. Yeah. Hit them all up like via direct message. You know, some responded, most didn't. But I had a pitch. Like, I mean, I'm coming from Vegas and I understand like that high level. And I'm the real true like power is in the programming, right? It's not like about buying expensive lights necessarily. It's about how they run, how they operate, and how they move right to the beat. And it's funny because my first account was Monte Carlo. Okay. It's a nightclub here in Mountain View. It's a Latin nightclub. And the way I got this account is crazy. So the audio guy from Monte Carlo, this was before I knew him.
Yeah.
So as I left Vegas, this guy randomly went to Marquee nightclub one night and just happened to meet the audio tech that was at Marquee, who just happened, and he just told him like, oh, like, yeah, our lighting sucks. Like, we're looking for someone to help us with the lighting, just like casually. And the guy was like, well, that's crazy. One of our best LDs just left here to go back there.
Interesting.
And so he was able to connect me with this guy, the audio guy from Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
And that's how I got Monte Carlo. I walked in there and proposed them a design like on a 3D rendering software, which is funny because like, honestly, it didn't impress them. Like the 3D rendering software to them was like, not archaic. It was just like they couldn't visualize these like sticks moving, which resemble lighting in their real space. So I ended up doing a real life demo for them. I reprogrammed the whole room, which is like not typical for someone to do right away, just to like demo, right? Yeah. But I did it because I had the passion for it, and I knew I could probably get something out of this. So I did the whole programming. I ran the show for a weekend, and I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. Ever since then, we've been there. We've been there since Halloween of 2014. Wow. So almost 9 years. Yeah.
Wow.
It's gone through so many changes. And like, to be honest, if you were to ask me like, hey, where can I experience a Las Vegas nightclub in the Bay Area? I would tell you Monte Carlo on a Saturday night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Monte Carlo has really got a special place in your heart.
For sure. 100%. Yeah.
And okay. And so like what did you have physically to offer as far as programming, people and products?
My brain. Yeah. I like didn't have much. I didn't have
like specific equipment.
Like, so I had a console, like I bought, basically like from what I made in Vegas, I purchased, it's called the Grand MA Fader Wing and Command Wing. It's just a control station so I could program. Software's free, but it needs to get activated by this hardware, right?
I see. Okay. So you're using the lights they already had.
Correct. Yeah, so they had all their lights were like, it's called they're on the same address, which means they all just move together. So like they're not different. And so it just looked crazy. Like it didn't look good. So I was able to basically reprogram it and make it like carbon copy of like what I was doing in Vegas.
Wow.
Right? And so they didn't really have an initial investment. They just saw the way operations with a live human being looks like versus like click this on the computer, then click this scene, and click this slow red, then click this fast yellow, right? This is like, we took all the parameters of lighting, blew them out on our fingers. So like we can control the dimming, if it's moving left or right, up or down, like all live. Yeah. Right. So I didn't have much physically to offer at the time. I was more of a programming side. And that's kind of why I went into trying to get the nightclubs, because like, yes, I can obviously design something for them and then they can purchase it and then we install it and then we program it, right?
And how long did you go doing this solo?
It wasn't solo. So when I was in SCU, I had an opening DJ. His name was Jesse. I'm sure you guys all know Jesse. Like, so when I moved to Vegas, I actually got him a job. I pulled him over there and he lived with me at my apartment. And so when I quit, he also quit. Okay. So when we came back, we're kind of like, it was kind of together, right? Like, he definitely didn't know operations at the time. And so he was like watching me, which was very important because shortly after we got a second club. Yeah. And so at that point we needed to split up. Right. And so, for lack of better terms, like Monte Carlo fell in love with my show. And so it's my show is the product. Yeah. It's not like, there's a lot of venues where a lighting director can interpret the music how they want, but at Monte Carlo, it's a specific show. So that show can't change. And so whoever was running that show had to run my show. So it was a lot of like cross training, a lot of passing off the torch. Right. Yeah, but it was definitely worth it to have somebody there for me.
Was there any risk of people taking your show and automating it somehow at that point?
Yeah, so like, I mean, we have like that conversation all the time. Like, how do you automate this, right? Yeah. Like, there's tons of softwares out there that like basically read frequencies and attempt to spit out whatever programming they think is best, right? Yeah. These things take tons of calibration anyways, right? But I don't think that it's possible to replace a human per se in like live operations if you want it to be perfect, right? Yeah. Now, like a lot of people, they will have time coded shows, right? Yeah. So like Kygo, we work with Kygo and Zoo and all these guys, like they like their music is connected to our programming so that if there is a change, our lighting will change with it. And so the person's job at that point, like you programmed all this, like you spent like whatever 200 hours on this programming. And at the show, your job is to make sure none of it goes off track.
Dude.
Right. So it's a different job. One job is like, I just show up to the board and I interpret the music how I need to. Like live. It's very popular at EDC. It's popular in a lot of places, but it's also popular, especially with artists that have bigger budgets and they want specific looks, specific fireworks at this time and this. It makes a lot of sense to have like, you know, Kygo in here to do a previs, right? And to have them in here and be able to see, because we have softwares to visualize the whole stage, everything to the time, so that when they go on stage, it just fires off. Right?
That's insane. That's something that people don't think about is you mentioned an example of spending 200 hours in designing the lighting production. It's like, dude, what about the song itself, right? That's what everyone's thinking about.
And what if the artist changes it?
Yeah.
Because then you have to change your stuff.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. It's like, you're never going to throttle an artist like that.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to make those adjustments, and it takes hours all night. Sometimes, like, you know, say an artist is like, I'm doing a new edit tonight on this song, right? And like, it could take you that whole day to like fix that perfectly for him.
Wow.
Maybe sometimes they'll say just busk it, right? But like, I think for most of these like high end talent, they're gonna want you to basically constantly be re-rendering the vision. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so you do end up doing a lot of work with their team about what they're going to play in their show that night.
100%.
Yeah. Beforehand.
We got guys like out right now, like world tours, and it's their job. It's their job to make sure the show is always 100%, whether he changes a song or he doesn't change a song. It's
okay. So you actually have employees that are following around different DJs on tour.
Totally.
Right now.
Yeah, I have one of my guys, Lorkin. He's out with both Zoo and Kygo.
Wow.
We're balancing that. There's a few like overlaps that people from my team will come fulfill. Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of tours in the past. I'd say like we're not like tour focused. It's again commodity or high value, right? We're a premier design lighting company, especially in the touring world. Like, it needs to be high end
for sure.
And if you want the perfect product, we'll put the time into it, you know. But some of like the smaller tours, they don't really make that much sense. It's you know, you spend a lot of time building an amazing team, and then some of them take off. And whether it, you know, has a benefit for Alvision or not depends. Right? Depends on what the end product is and what, you know, certain artists, like, they have great, crazy visions, right? Yeah. It's just amazing to work with them. And some are just budget, you know, all just budget oriented. And so that like makes us less interested. Yeah. Because the passion here is really to produce premium lighting design. Right. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's good. Let me get back on track with the timeline, so I'm understanding how things grew. After you got Monte Carlo, I imagine after that you kept getting more nightclubs in the Bay Area.
Yeah. So I got a couple more, and then and then like that's when like the SFX thing comes in. Okay. Right? Because we're the only SFX company in the Bay Area, and I kind of saw that. And I was doing so much of it in Las Vegas. So it's like confetti, streamers, CO2 jets, low-lying fog, lasers, things like that, right? And not many people are doing them around here. So that's kind of the next phase. So I like started with clubs, but clubs is like not as sustainable for a business growth. It's like for individual growth, sure, right? But how do you like, what do you take on 1,000 nightclubs? Like, you know, it's kind of crazy. Right. And that's when I found that niche of special effects. And so we started doing arenas. Actually, our first gig was Pop NYE. It's actually that one right there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that was our first time shooting streamers and CO2 and things like that. Yeah. But that was like the next step. Okay. SFX.
And so, but how did you, I mean, I can see how you came up with the idea, right? You identified that opportunity, but how did you physically acquire this stuff and source these products and the material?
Yeah. So like, I mean, there's like some leading manufacturers for confetti cannons, CO2 jets. Yeah. I actually met Pat, who's the owner of Club Cannon. It's based out of SLO. Amazing connection. He basically now supplies CO2 jets for Drake, Beyonce, like the whole like Disney, like all the cruises and stuff. Yeah. So I met him, and actually he was really helpful. He was he like helped me design a couple things, and he definitely helped propel me in the right direction of like what is like the next new thing, because a lot of these effects stuff was like all handmade in the past. There wasn't really like a leading company, and so me partnering with Club Cannon was a really big deal. It really helped propel me and my image here as a premium SFX company, not just the only one.
Yeah. So like how far into the business was this? How many years before you started special effects?
Like 6 months.
Oh, okay. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like, we got one gig, right? So we got like this confetti thing, and that one gig, all the PR, the photos, everything from that, I was able to then push that and be like, hey, I do this, right? I do this confetti. But things moved really quick, man. I mean, like when we, like the first year was really, I would say 90% clubs, 10% SFX. And then that slowly started to shift where now we're about 5% clubs.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to connect those dots. I feel like there's so many steps in between because you look at your website now, and I was scrolling the other day, going to the bottom of the website, and it's like, there's a lot of different services that you've packaged up. You're not just throwing random stuff out there. You actually have packaged. It's very organized, right? The way you have divided everything up. Yeah. And I mean, almost like you can go to a portion of your website for weddings specifically, right? Or for concerts. So you kind of found this other opportunity with big events, concerts, right? The Pop NYE was kind of the first new one outside of the nightclubs. And during this time, 6 months, you realized, okay, wait, as you're out in the field, what other opportunities there are? Okay, we can do more than lighting, production, design. We can actually do special effects too. And so you started offering that as well. Did it just continue to grow kind of in the same way as you found these other areas to support these other types of events?
Yeah, so I think like what catapulted us into like corporate world, wedding world, and all that stuff is truly our experience with nightlife and concerts. So like a lot of like, you know, our age people are getting married. They want DJs at their weddings. They want like, you know, Google wants to host Steve Aoki for the holiday party, right? And like, there's a gap there. There's a gap of understanding of like those guys, what they need, the production they need. A lot of these people don't even know what a CO2 jet is, right? Like, and these companies have been around for forever. So I found myself where I'm like a tool for them to fulfill that gap. So like, that's how I got connected with big lighting companies like Four Wall, Felix, all these guys around here that are putting on massive productions. And that's how I got my foot in the door, because, you know, they want to provide the total package. They're missing this chunk. They met me, I fulfilled the chunk, and they're able to win the bid, provide the show.
Got it.
So that kind of expanded me into the arenas, the venues, working with bigger lighting companies and bigger, because like at that point I was pushing SFX, not lighting design, because lighting design, these guys are doing a lot of it. So I like stayed with the clubs with that, and then used the SFX to kind of enter these pockets with making new connections with bigger companies. Okay. And providing basically like concert level, like high end level production to those events. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then throughout this time, you just pretty much, did you kind of see what opportunities were coming to you? Then you'd go and get the supplies, materials you needed to go make that event happen?
Yeah. So like, everything's about high value, right? Like we're super dedicated here. Every single person on my team is really dedicated and passionate about what they do. So it's all about high value, right? And it's about finding clients that truly cared about what we're providing, right? There's a lot of like corporate companies that are like not that big yet, but not small, and they don't really know how to put on a show. Like we hold their hands and tell them, okay, when you walk on, we're going to play a short clip of some music, so it's not awkward, right? We help design those things. And so it's about finding the clients that truly care about having that hand holding experience, because we don't come without it. Like we don't just drop off some speakers and say goodbye. Like that's not what we do. So it's about finding, you know, like who are the companies and event coordinators, right? Like there's tons of wedding coordinators out there, and like working with the people that truly find high value in us, because we give it our all, and basically whatever they need, whatever they want, we will do, including customization. There's so much stuff, right? So we just care about being on the same wavelength with our client and making sure that like our hard work is seen. And that's why, you know, we try to stick with, you know, like luxe weddings and some of the higher end product designs, because we put a lot of work in. It's like weeks of prep for one night, you know?
So that consulting that you're offering, in addition to the actual products and services, that's, I'd imagine, one of your biggest differentiators.
Yeah, for sure. I think like there's a lot of AV companies out here, right? And lighting companies out here. I think like it's really like a familial experience. Like it's really about being personable and like getting on their level, right? It's not like just a list, you know, like, I tend to summarize my services for people instead of being like, it's this many nuts, it's this many bolts, it's this much weight and these sandbags. Like they don't care really. And so for me, it was about like, how do I pitch this to them in a familial way that they're comfortable and they trust me, right? And so, you know, in the last few years, we've invested heavily into really realistic visualization software so that we can take full scale buildings, replicate it. It's like, think Sims, but like really, really production oriented. So like seeing how the lasers will look exactly, right? Kind of pitching that vision to them so they can see. So like that's a big difference. I think other companies aren't really doing that. They're not like recreating physical spaces in basically like virtual reality for them to know exactly what the event is going to look like before they get it, right? Because like we don't sell like common products, right? Like if I sold you socks, right, you already know what the sock is for. Like you know how to use the sock. People don't even know when to shoot confetti at a wedding, right? So there's like a lot of journey, right? It's almost like, tell me your vision and I'll tell you when to make it that special moment, right? And that's the main goal.
Wow. Okay. So that makes me want to ask then, how have you done sales and marketing from the beginning, and how has that evolved over time? I imagine a lot of it is from referrals between customers, clients you have, and then they tell the next person, right? Or the next group. But what are you guys doing as a team to get yourselves out there and basically acquire new clients? Yeah,
totally, man. So like we have a biz dev department. We're constantly like meeting, you know, there's a lot of people we work with, and we also see who they work with too, right? And so we try to like cross-reference different networks. There's a lot of times where we'll work alongside each other on bigger events, right? And trying to see if it's a good fit. You know, we do like constant website updates, all that stuff, right? Google AdWords. But the reality is like, I don't want the random person who's searching on Google. Like, I need AV for this event, because that person most likely is not the level of dedication that we're looking for. That person probably would not be looking on Google. Right. So like a lot of times I've spent a lot of money on like Yelp, for example, back in the day, and I'd get calls like, do you guys do party chairs? Right. Because I'm in party supply rental.
I see.
Which is not really what we are. And at the time, like there was no special effects. There was no like audio visual was even like really weird. Like the categorization wasn't right. And so like, I think I would say most of it is word of mouth. Almost all of it, I think, is word of mouth. Like we're not spending massive amounts on marketing or anything like that, because the clients we're looking for are really like long-term partners. We're not, we want to partner with people and we want to do like really phenomenal work. I'm not really interested in like the amount of gigs we get as I do the quality of gigs.
And that shines through clearly, especially just walking through your warehouse. And I mean, I imagine the sourcing is a whole nother thing of getting all the different brands that you use with all this equipment in there. I mean, do you have a team dedicated to that specifically, or are you involved in that?
Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty much involved in that. Like when it comes for investment, right? And like what we're investing in, and like, cause I can see as like lead of biz dev, I can see like what direction people are headed. I can also see patterns. Like if things are being rented very heavily, like lasers during certain seasons. But also you have to be really careful, because you can buy a bunch of stuff that people aren't going to want, right? So we tend to like rent a bit before, make sure that we have captured the client's attention in that regard, and they're like forever sold on it, and then we will purchase.
Got it.
So everything I own in the shop, although it is cross-rentable, the goal is not to rent it. The goal is to use it as a tool for our design. A lot of lighting companies out here, they're a rental house. Like, I need this many lights. I need this many strobes. I need this much. And they put it together. And then, like, you know, you have the union helps build it and stuff. We don't really rent. We're here. Like, these are our tools to do what we do. Yeah.
That's great. It's a good distinction of who your client is. It's somebody who's really trying to get serious about putting on a legit event. Whatever it's for, whether it's a multi-million-dollar
like
wedding.
High value, like attention to detail, right? Like incredible, like we're about making special moments. That's like, if I would say, what's your motto? It's like, it's that wow factor, right? It's like, it could be in the form of all these special effects, but it's also just in the form of like, you know, having dramatic moment, like video turns on, everything blacks out, coordinating that to like create emotion for people, right? Because that value is like what, companies, for example, at a corporate, their main goal is to like captivate their employees, right? They want their employees stoked, excited. This SKO they better go home and sell, $1 billion tomorrow, right? So like, it's our job to like help facilitate that, right? And we're the tool for them to be able to do that. And it's definitely high pressure, For sure. We've done things for presidents with Secret Service right next to us, like checking our backgrounds. Like we've been through all of it. So it's funny because like sometimes people are like, how are you not stressed right now? Like this is like the biggest wedding we've ever done. How are you guys like totally chilling? And it's like, dude, we've been through it all. Like, you think like, Justin Bieber's going on stage, you got to like reorganize everything. You have 2 minutes to do it. Like, we've been through it. So also the long hours and stuff like that. So
yeah, dude, you've just been on this grind. It's incredible. So could you quickly just give an overview of Mega Confetti? What's the story behind the name and how you...
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so like when I started doing special effects, like I really wanted to just focus on confetti. Like it was really interesting to me. And like I even did some wedding fairs like back then where I made a booth just for confetti. Yeah. And people would come up to me and be like, I never thought of that. Like there's a photo booth guy, there's like a desserts woman, right? Whatever. But like the confetti guy, like that's kind of crazy, right? There's like the balloon people. Yeah. And so I kind of like wanted to have a brand for itself and I wanted to try to sell confetti in that regard. But yeah, like the reality is like we followed what our clients wanted, right? And so it is confetti, but it's also a bunch of other things. Yeah. And so we really wanted to provide like that full package, and we can, like to this day, we can do like audio, video, lightings, SFX, full production, direction, design, plotting, permits, everything, right? With the confetti, it was really like my entry into being at this level because if it wasn't for confetti, I would still be doing nightclubs, I think, because that was the way I got to meet the next tier of companies, production managers, clientele.
Wow. Yeah. Cool, man. Gosh, dude, I really could talk to you for hours just about Alvision, Mega Confetti, and how that has grown, everything you do, everything you've done. I mean, it's incredible. You've been nonstop now for, what has it been? It's been 9 years.
Yeah. Like 2000, like officially, like Monte Carlo was October of 2014. Wow. So yeah, I'd say 9 years pretty much.
Coming one more year to the decade anniversary. Wow. Yeah. So, but I mean, like we could talk about that forever, but I do want to spend a little bit of time just talking about you as a business leader, owner, what you've learned from this experience, and some of the things that we can give value around for our audience. Could you talk about some of the biggest challenges you've experienced as an entrepreneur in general over the past decade? It could be a general or specific answer.
Sure. I'll do two. Like one is, like I would say the challenge of what COVID did is pretty obvious one. We were like, there's no events, right? So like during that time, that really tested like what I've built and am I able to do it right again afterwards, right? Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. I would say that was the biggest personal and business challenge for me. I remember the day like I can literally replay it right now. The day I had to tell all my guys that we're like done. We're done. Wow. Because like we got, they were putting like the restrictions, no driving, like no one's going to the shop. We have no events. It was crazy. Yeah. We have a warehouse. I have people to feed. Like there's so much stuff and it was so stressful. Yeah. I would say that really like tested us. I will say that right after that, when the floodgates opened and every tour was like, we got to go because everything was delayed, right? So it's like a domino effect. All those weddings were happening on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. There's not even enough Saturdays in a year to host everybody, right? So it was like a 300% like increase right after COVID. So it was all about
right after, like when exactly?
Like I'd say 2020. Like March 2020, right, is when pretty much we got shut down. Yeah. Right. So I would say like 2022, was a crazy year.
Beginning. Okay. Yeah.
Crazy year, lots of work, lots of opportunity for everyone. That's the thing. Like, it wasn't even about competing with people anymore. It was like, there's so much work right now.
Everyone had life to catch up on.
Exactly. Yeah. And, so COVID for sure, that was a big test for us. More general, it's like your team, bro, building a team, retaining your team.
Yeah.
And because I put like I said, like, you can't really learn this stuff, right? Like, I can't just like go hire someone that's like super, super good at this and just plug them in and be like, it's like not like an engineer or programmer in a company. So like the amount of time I put into somebody, right, and how I cross train them and train them, it's so valuable that my goal is to retain them, right? And so I think like overall team morale, how I treat my guys. I mean, you can ask anybody, like, they're very happy here. I think they're very happy here. But it's about seeing that and honestly spending money on that, right? Like, growing as a business, you're going to be financially conscious, right? But there's certain things that you just have to say, like, this 10% of this week has to go to making sure my team's not just paid, it's like extra. Like, get another vehicle for them to use. So they're, like things like that, growing in that direction. So I'd say the growth was super organic, it needed to happen at its own speed. And I needed to take care of my team. Otherwise, like, I can't do this by myself. Yeah.
Dude, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's just come up a few times in some of my other podcasts with people as being a challenge, is the people management. I mean, it's such a difficult thing.
Like, it's not even so much managing, because like, they are great. It's about like, for example, during COVID, right? I had some of my best, not even like I just say, some of like the people that have been with me the longest, like, switch careers because it like really caused anxiety that it wasn't going to come back, which I understand, right? I had like different boat. I have so much, my hands are tied, right? So like, I needed to see it through. But so like things like that kind of caused me to restart, like training people to that caliber and hiring more people during the biggest year ever, right? Like that flow right after COVID. So
what you just said was interesting, though. You said your hands were tied, so you had to see it through. Does that mean throughout COVID, even during the most questionable times, you were under the impression, or you had the commitment of, I'm doing this no matter what, we need to get back to normal life as soon as possible so I can continue, because there's no other way out?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, my mentality with COVID was like, I don't really believe this. Like, there's no way that this is going to get taken away from me. I spent my whole life on it. And even like, as it's starting as a DJ in SCU, right? Like, I was going against the grain. Like, I was trying to do something different, and like the entrepreneurialism there wasn't even recognized till now, really, because like back then I was just trying to have a good time. But really, I was trying to do my thing. And I think during COVID, I'm really thankful. Like, yes, it was the most stressful time of my life, but I also got to meet my wife, which is amazing. I got to spend time, because I work so hard and so much that it's hard it's impossible basically for me to like, go out on dates and do stuff like that. And so like, I was able to focus on myself. Like, I lost 50 pounds. I was doing like 50 miles biking a day, climbing 5,000 foot elevations and stuff like that. I was really focusing on like my mental state, hoping and knowing that one day this will come back. Right? And like, the amount of gear I owned, like how deep I was in it, right? Like, what am I going to just start selling it?
Right.
Like, and to who?
Like
they're not doing events. So I was stuck. Like, other people can go get a different job. I can't. So
dude, incredible.
There were like backup plans, right? Like at some point but like in the end of the day, it's like, it's funny. Like, I even interviewed with like Specialized Bikes, right? Because I was like super into biking at the time. I was like, like, let me help them with marketing or something. Like, let me do anything, right? And they're just like, yeah, like, you're not fit, right? As a CEO of a company, I'm not fit for any of those roles, because like apparently I like do too much and I'm not good enough at something, right?
That one thing,
So yeah, that was like a brief thing where I was like, cool, I'm gonna make sure Alvision goes back up, because like, what am I supposed to do? Go be a CEO somewhere else? Like, it's, during COVID, pretty much not happening.
Dude, that's a wild story. So like, how long of a period was it just completely stagnant, quiet?
I'd say like, honestly, man, it's such a blur now. Like March 2020 until, I want to say that New Year's, we didn't do anything. So like, it was probably about a year solid.
That's crazy.
I mean, maybe
That's
like
scary,
even
dude.
in 2021, I'd probably say like maybe halfway through that year, things started picking back up. So
Dude.
it's a long time, man.
Yeah.
It's a long time to like, just imagine how much time I've spent on this to
Yeah.
then not spend on it. Right.
Yeah.
And I still was like, we did stuff like we did like virtual like conferences and concerts, and we were trying to keep up with the grain, right? And like what other people are doing. And but like, dude, no one wants to do that shit. Like, you know, at some point, you like the virtual reality thing, you're just like, dude, I'm done. Like, I'm going to go outside, right? You know? So,
dude,
yeah.
Amazing. So I just wanted to ask you this about you were talking about the people, delegating. So you started off, the product was your brain, like you said, right?
Yeah.
Your experience actually working shows in nightclubs. And clearly you trained your guys to do that. But how hard or easy was that for you to let go of responsibility here and there as you have scaled in every single way?
It's pretty much impossible. Like, it is the hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
And like, it's funny because I was like, my dad always told me, he's like, you should like get delegate tattooed on your arm. Like, you just are horrible at delegating, because my whole life I've been like, go, go. Like the way I did SCU, like barely anyone ever helped me set up. The way I did Vegas, I was like the last man standing, right? Yeah. And so like, as you grow your business, right? Like, no one is going to care about your business as much as you. It's your baby, right? It's not their baby. They didn't birth it, right? So like, you need to care that much. And I think like, it just gets to that point, bro. Like, where, you know, you have to let go for certain things, and you have to have the best team to do it, right? So I'm super grateful that my team is amazing, because to let those things go, and I probably only like started being a good delegator like the year after COVID. Wow. Because before then I was still running, gunning. And then like, I knew like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to grow. I need to double my team. And like, we're 12 people now, and we were 5 people before COVID. So like, it's a blessing, right? What happened? Do I want it to happen again? Absolutely not. No. But like, you know,
None of us do.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I'm glad you touched on that. Cool, man. Well, I like to end this conversation with a cool question I ask at the end of every episode, which is, what is an entrepreneurial life hack that goes against the mainstream belief that you could share with the audience?
Sure. It's kind of hard, man. Like, I have a couple like recent hacks. I mean, obviously, man, like we are working till like 5 a.m. on one night, and then we're up at 6:30 doing a conference on another night, right? Like, how do you live that lifestyle? It's pretty much like never ending jet lag, right? Weekends are late, weekdays are early, right? And, you know, it's all about the team, like how the team develops and how the team feels and all that, right? And I would say like, you know, things like, going to the gym, or like having all of us like get a membership at Bay Club and things like that. So like, that was really important. And I saw a big change there where like, we're all basically at the gym at 7 before we come here. And that like mindset that energy transferred over here. This is something very recent for us. Like, because like company gym membership, like no one what the fuck, you know, but like, it's actually working, and it's like causing like clarity and coming in the morning, and like, there's like that, you know, camaraderie and development there. And then here, I think it's really important. I think it works out really well for us, and just like staying fit, I think is really important. I mean, it's important in every profession. And our profession is like, we're doing like 38,000 steps a day. So it's like, not like we need it, but we need that like mindset, right?
And lifting all this shit too.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, the most important thing, Valvision, is the team, how the team feels, how is the team rested, and to try to improve that. It's really like, how do you hack that? Yeah. Right? How do you like help people sleep? How do you help people, you know, go to the gym and do all these things? And we're trying to do it like as a community. And I think like that's been a big benefit here. For sure.
I love that answer, man. Nice.
Yeah, man.
Well, cool, man. Is there anybody in your network who you would recommend that I have on this show? Somebody who's building some sort of brand or business?
Yeah, you know, like as I talked this interview, I think like Pat from Club Cannon. I mean, he's down in Slow, but he has his operation started. He invented the handheld CO2 gun. Oh wow! So like this guy, that's why his name's Club Cannon. So it was just a gun for the clubs. Yeah, and
so
it got
shooting out fog and confetti.
Yeah, exactly. And he like got super popular with like David Guetta and all these guys and Steve Aoki. And it was during that time when Vegas was popping off. And he'd be great. Like he's grown so much. Like the dude's providing the whole entertainment industry with product.
That would be sick, man.
I think he's a good one. Yeah.
Nice.
Like there's a couple others, but like I think his story is very successful and an amazing story too. Like I know he didn't finish school. He just wanted to do this. He was a DJ. He found his niche. I found my niche. We crossed paths really early, and I mean he's responsible for a lot of these. So
that's sick, man. Well, cool. I'll follow up with you on getting in touch at some point.
Cool.
But man, how can people find you online? How can they look into Owlvision and get to know you?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, our website, obviously, owlvisionllc.com, Instagram, Owlvision LLC, Facebook, same thing. Yeah, we're like, our website's always developing. We're like doing monthly updates now to try to just kind of release, we have a new page coming out next Wednesday that's like this month at Owlvision, right? Like a newsletter, so kind of to recap. Because we have a lot of services. We have a lot of examples of services. But like if someone wants to see like recently, like what we just do recently, right? Instagram is great for that. Instagram's not for every generation.
Right.
There's like, I still have clients with like Intuit and Google and things like that. And like, there's still some people that aren't used to going on Instagram and seeing Instagram. So yeah, I try to keep the website still up to date. But yeah, I'd say that that's the best way to connect with us. We're not really on like TikTok we probably should be on TikTok. Maybe one day I'll hire somebody to do that because it's like, seems like a full-time job.
Dude, I have the same issue, man.
But yeah, for now, I think, Instagram and the website.
Love it, man.
Best way. Yeah.
Well, David, dude, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, bro. No, thank you for having me, bro. I'm really excited. So it's awesome because I never really talked about this before. So
yeah, it's
cool.
It makes you kind of have perspective, right? When you step back and actually just yeah, because I know you're the kind of guy who just goes and goes, right? Yeah. You've been doing that for the past 10 years. So but man, it really is amazing to see the growth and progress you've made building this business. And I mean, it's awesome, and I'm so glad we got to do this podcast.
Yeah, thank you. So it's an honor to be here.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Well, keep it going, bro. We'll be in touch, man. I'm excited to see this success continue.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Take it easy.
Thank you for joining our conversation today on the Nichols and Dimes Show. Please check out and follow my podcast Instagram at Nichols and Dimes Show. I'd love to have you subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube. You can also find it on my website. I welcome and encourage any feedback you can share in the reviews so I can continue to improve and develop the show. Thanks again, and see you next time.